in the fall, like right now, you can actually dig around and separate one part of the plant from another. And you can see here that was done. Put this Sedum Autumn Joy in this pot, and this is the crown right down here.
Hey everybody, Sean and Allison here from Spoken Garden.
Happy Friday, everybody, and we hope you're off to a great start to your Labor Day weekend if you're celebrating that this weekend in the US. And this is day 165.
Yep, and today we are renaming this daily video log. We're no longer going to be the Quarantine Gardeners. We're going to be the Spoken Garden Daily.
Yeah, it just didn't make sense to us anymore to be the Quarantine Gardeners. We just kept using that name because that's what we started with. So our goal is to, we're gonna call ourselves the Spoken Garden Daily, which we think will be really fun, and we're gonna continue numbering every day as we already have. So this is day 165.
Yeah, we're no longer under really quarantine. Things are kind of opening up. There's some different things happening around the country and in our area, maybe in your area too, but for the most part, we're not really quarantined anymore. So guys, it's Friday. That means plant chat, and we're gonna cover sedums today.
Love Autumn Joy Sedum specifically, and we have a whole bunch that were gifted to us recently that we actually haven't planted them yet.
Thank you, Paula and Todd.
Thank you. But we do have another beautiful plant that we planted a couple years ago, and we're just gonna show you all of them.
So guys, here's our Autumn Joy Sedum stone crops. And you can see some of them, like Allison said, we've got them in some pots. These were from some family friends, and they were very gracious and generous to give us these earlier. We've been keeping them in these pots because we're not sure exactly where we're going to set them yet, so that could be another episode coming up.
It's the story of our life.
Yeah, every garden only has so much room, so you gotta really work on that. Yeah. So Autumn Joy, these are succulent perennials. They are very drought tolerant. You can see it almost looks cactus-like. It's interesting, the growth on the stems and the leaves. The leaves could be very similar to even a Christmas cactus or Thanksgiving cactus too, with that serration and the thick, wide leaves. They look kind of similar, so it's interesting to look at that. So Allison's gonna focus in on that pollinator right there. Isn't that cool? These Autumn Joy just opened literally like the last couple days, and so all these flowers have not been touched by any pollinators. So this guy's really getting in there and getting all that pollen and nectar out of there. So as you can see, Autumn Joy, which is very characteristic of it, and they open up into bright pink flowers. As the season progresses and we move from late summer into early fall, the flowers will turn into more of a coppery pink. They'll have a coppery tinge to them. And it's really beautiful to see because it's just like in a couple of days, it just changes more to a coppery pink. And then even later into the seasons, even later into the fall, it'll turn to more of a rust-colored pink, and then the flowers will be done. So it's a great progression of color if you've ever seen this before, and hopefully you get to see it this year. We get to see it, so it'll be fun.
Okay, so we're gonna talk about some care needs for your Autumn Joy, especially if you have it in your garden and you're wondering. Autumn Joy prefer full sun. So if you can, try to plant them in an area that's gonna get at least 6 hours of sun a day. They can tolerate some partial shade, so actually this is our Autumn Joy right here, and it does get some partial shade through the day. Because this is where we chose to plant it. It probably gets 4 to 5 hours of sun a day.
Yeah, if that, yeah, especially into the later part of the year. When you put it in these situations, these planting situations with not a lot of sun throughout the day, especially full sun, they're gonna stretch and they're gonna kind of topple over a little bit. And that means between this leaf node and that leaf node in this inner part of the stem right here, it's gonna stretch and it's gonna be longer, and that's gonna make this not as strong and sturdy, so it's gonna wanna flop over. So the more full sun and longer times in the full sun you can give this plant, the better.
Which is why these new ones will probably go in our front yard. So we have a couple ideas for where those are gonna go, but for now we're keeping them safe and happy in the container. So they really, really don't want to be overwatered because it is more like a cactus, where you should only probably water it maybe every other day, depending on your climate, or every couple of days. The goal is to let the soil totally dry out, so you can check the soil. If it's dry and it's been dry for maybe a day or so, give it a water.
As you know, when the mood strikes, Allison's going to take her pictures. You know, she wants to capture this very moment with this Autumn Joy.
Sorry, you lost me for a minute. This will probably be on Instagram later.
So guys, while Allison's doing that, let me tell you a couple more things. Autumn Joy is hardy in USDA zones to be grown in 3 to 9. That's zones 3 to 9. That's pretty cool. That's a wide range. Also, Autumn Joys will get from anywhere from 1 to 2 feet tall and 1.5 to 2 feet wide. So that's pretty cool. That'll take over a good space. Now, these guys will spread, and they spread by their crown. So what you can do is in the fall, like right now, you can actually dig around and separate one part of the plant from another. And you can see here that was done to put this Sedum Autumn Joy in this pot. And this is the crown right down here where you're seeing this stem go right into the ground. This is the plant's crown. Our family friend actually cut this out from another plant and gave this to us, and this one. And so that's how they spread. They spread on the ground over the crown, and then you divide it, pick it up, dig it up, and place it in another part of your garden. Pretty cool, right?
So Sean, how many crowns are in here? Because I thought this was multiple plants. Is it just one crown?
That's just one crown.
Oh, cool. Yep. Okay. With all these different stems coming out of it.
Yep, and that's a really good question. I'm glad you brought that up. So if we wanted to too, we could divide this again right down the middle and separate this side from this, and then we could have another plant. We could have 2 more plants just off of this, and then this one, and then we'd have a total of 3 new plants to plant in our yard.
I love that idea. That's exactly what I think we should do.
So guys, another fun fact and useful care information for Sedum Autumn Joy is that you can grow it in almost any type of soil, but it needs to be well draining. Just make sure that the water flows through and that it doesn't sit in a lot of water. And the reason for this is one, this plant doesn't like a lot of water. It doesn't do that well in it, but if it does get too much water over a very small amount of time, it will start to grow really long stems and kind of leggy, and it'll just start laying down because it'll be top heavy with those flowers that you see, and it'll just want to fall right over. So try not to have it in anything but well-draining soil.
So obviously this attracts a lot of bees, and this is a great plant for late summer and early fall pollinators. If you're looking for things to add to your yard that will help promote those pollinators, throw some sedums in if they'll grow in your zone. And you saw the example, they love it. So here in our zone, in zone 8B, and in this particular bed, this is our drought tolerant bed, and we're using it that way. We've got it planted surrounded by 2 different blanket flowers and then some other containers, because this is a young, kind of immature plant bed. But you can use it in all kinds of different ways, maybe as a landscape border somewhere or a mass planting. It could do very well in containers as well.
So guys, at this point you're probably wondering, do I deadhead this plant? When do I prune it? How does that all happen? What's the care like? So really, you can prune on these. It's not that big of a deal, especially when they're growing, if you want to shape them and influence where they grow. We're not going to do that with ours because they're brand new plants and we want to give them time to establish themselves in our garden after we get them out of the pots, of course. But we don't want to stress them out after we plant them with more pruning. We want to kind of leave the plants alone, and next year when they come up, we'll do some pruning and shaping then. And here's a good reason why. So each year, this plant grows from the crown and the base up. And after it's done flowering and after it's done growing in the middle of fall, it starts to die back down. And what's gonna happen is eventually all this top portion is gonna die. We'll come in and we'll cut these stems really close, just above the crown area. And that's because all of this dies every year. It dies back down, especially in our zone, in zone 8B, it dies back down to the ground. So we want to get that material off of the plant, and then next spring, about mid to late spring, we're going to start seeing the stone crop want to grow back up off that crown. And all of these stems that you see here that we're going to remove, it'll repeat all this and grow all of these back up next late spring or early summer. So that's why we're not going to cut on these right now, because we don't want to stress them out, and it's going to die back down next year. When these all come up, we can then prune them early and get that shape if we want a specific shape out of them and grow a certain way. Now, deadheading. Really, you can deadhead these after they're done flowering, but when these are done flowering, you're not going to induce more flowering if you go through and deadhead. These guys are kind of a one and done type of flowering. So they produce all these flowers and it's great, but these are the only ones they're going to produce for the whole season. So you're going to see that flower color progression from late summer into fall, but then you're not going to see any more flowers getting developed. So it's less care for you to have to come in and deadhead anything, because you just basically get to enjoy all these flowers and you don't have to do anything. And plus you don't have to water it a lot. This is a really nice plant to have in your garden.
Okay guys, that was our plant chat about Autumn Joy Sedum, and we'd love to know if you are growing these in your yard too, because they are so beautiful. This was also our first Spoken Garden Daily, but our 165th overall daily video.
Let us know what you think about that and about the plant chat today about Autumn Joy Sedums down below. We'd love hearing from you guys. Give us that thumbs up, let us know we're doing a good job, and subscribe to our channel so you get updates on our latest videos. So guys, don't forget too, we're gonna go live next Wednesday, and our topic is gonna be planting a fall container. So there'll be some other things we'll be talking about and some back and forth chatting with you and some questions.
Yeah, we'd love to invite you to come hang out with us for about an hour starting at 4 o'clock Pacific Standard Time. So we hope to see you there.
Yeah, really want to see you guys there.
And with that, that's a wrap for today, everybody. Have a great start to your weekend. Happy Labor Day, and we'll be back tomorrow.
See you tomorrow, everybody.
Bye, everybody.
Bye-bye.